Emma the bad guy for nearly getting my colleague fired and then refusing to help him. So I'm 26, have been in my company for 3 years, and I'm in sales and the colleagues in the case. Let's call him Jay in the customer support. Everything was going good, but problems started around last year. Jay started asking money from seeing he was going through financial trouble. He had become a good friend, and since I was making significantly higher than him, which he knew, so I gave him the money he was asking. That's when it started. First it were small amounts, then it greatly increased. Had to keep giving because he returned the amount he borrowed on the time as soon as we got our salary. Around 4 months back, I had to buy a new laptop, phone, earbuds, and together since everything I owned had become 4-5 years old, and I wanted to spend and enjoy. Due to this, I didn't have a lot of spare cash that month and didn't want to break my savings, so I said no to Jay. When he asked me to loan him a significant AMT, around 35% of my monthly salary, he immediately pointed out that I earn more than him, and I'm a single and I have my own house while he's married, has a small child and lives on rent, and I should thus help him out. He said I'm the only colleague who considers his friend and he cannot ask anyone else for the same. He failed to return the money on that time the first time. Since he started borrowing from me, 1 more month passed therefore too. I didn't pester him. He borrowed 2 more times without paying anything back. And 2 weeks ago, and a few other colleagues were having coffee break, and we are planning a small trip on the weekend to celebrate and relax after a hectic month. One colleague said he would not be able to come. On digging we know, he was short on cash since he loaned Jay some money, and I felt so betrayed that I blurted out that Jay took a loan from me too. This opened the floodgates, and it turns out Jay has taken loan from nearly half of the office. This will go to HR debt soon, and Jay had a road meeting with HR, where he was told that while the company cannot force him to pay up to us and other members who loaned to him, he would be fired if this go on to not further spoil the company environment. He immediately came to me when we were leaving the house at day end and first accused me of telling others that he borrowed from me and then demanded another loan so he could pay up to colleagues whose payments were pending since quite some time so he does not lose his job. I made a pretty good incentive last month and I had a lot of spare cash in my account, but I told him no and that I feel exploited by him. And it's not my fault he earns less than me or cannot manage his finances better. He started crying, told me I was inhuman, and he got mouths to feed. I'm the bad guy for blurting out that he borrowed from me too, and also to tell him no this time even though I had the cash to spare. I'm the bad guy to refusing to give my brother and sister-in-law our grandma's jewelry. My dad cheated on his wife with my mom, but they stayed together. My mom died when I was a few months old, and my stepmom didn't want me in her house, so I was raised by grandparents, who passed away 2 years ago. My dad died before them, so everything was filled to my half-brother, and I inherited the house, almost everything in it, and all of my grandma's jewelry, which is worth about $715,000. I was also the sole beneficiary to the life insurance. My brother got a few heirlooms and some money, but it was far less than what I got because he inherited a lot from our dad, while I got pretty much nothing. At the time, he didn't have a problem with it. He's getting married soon, and I was talking to his fiancée, who told me that my brother told her that our grandma wanted his future wife to get married wearing the jewelry she wore at her wedding. I have no idea why he told her this. He was not close to our grandma at all. She definitely did not promise him her wedding jewelry. I'm actually planning on wearing it to my wedding and talked to my grandma about that. I told my sister-in-law that I can't give her the jewelry. She can borrow it for her wedding, but she has to give it back because I plan on wearing it to my wedding too. She told me she doesn't want her sister-in-law to wear the same jewelry as her. I tell her that I could give her the jewelry, and if my grandma wanted my brother's wife to have it, then she will have feel it to him. I thought that was the end of it, but it was not. My brother called me that night and told me that his fiancée was crying because of me, and he deserved to have something from our grandma because I inherited a lot more than him. I reminded him that I grew up with my grandparents and had a much closer relationship with them. He cussed me out and said that I tricked them into leaving me most of their money. That isn't true. They raised me since I was a few months old, and I went to local university instead of my dream school, so I will be able to stay home and care for them in their final years. So they obviously had a better relationship with me. I told him that his fiancée can borrow the jewelry if she really wants to wear it to her wedding, but I can't give it to her. His mom called me the next day and called me all sorts of nasty things for depriving my brother something that my grandma promised to give him. If my grandma has actually promised him that, then I will have given him the jewelry. But I know she didn't, so I'm not giving it to him. All the jewelry is insured, and except a few small pieces I wear regularly is in a safe deposit box at the bank. The jewelry in question is a necklace and earrings. I will not let them borrow it after all this, but I might give her something else if they don't shut up. So what do you think? I'm at the bad game by telling my mom I'm going to college and leaving her with my disabled brother. I'm a guy who turned 19 in January. I graduated in June. Earlier during the year I got accepted to college in my state. To give you some background information on why this is big news, I'm the only person in my family to so no cousins, grandparents, or any of my 5 siblings were able to do so. So it was a big deal. There were several obstacles, however, such as being held back by my mother as a 3rd grader to take care of my younger brother. This will come into play later. But hey, I did it. I graduated with good grades and a path PG'd. I have a younger brother. He is 18, a year younger than me. He is severely disabled and mentally stunned. He is also very aggressively and around 300 pounds and is 6 feet tall. Growing up, I always felt like a second-class citizen to my brother. He always got the nicest things and got the better treatment. All of that I could handle, but my mom expected me to always look after him. My dad left my mom for the same reason all my other siblings have. She doesn't understand that he needs to be put into a home. It got so bad to the point where the only sleepover I was invited to, I couldn't go because I was forced to watch my brother. As you can understand, my brother is a little abusive when he doesn't get this way, and a part of me hates him for taking away my childhood. I did my FAFSA with my counselor and everything. However, I was short around $200, so I went to my mom. And I know that you're thinking, oh, why don't you just have a job? My parents didn't love me to have a job because they will joke about how my job is taking care of my brother and how they pay me in free food and free housing. I had hoped she could loan me some money, just enough to pay off my first semester. I've work study for 2 weeks, so I will have most of the money. When I told my mom, she was irate. She went ballistic about how selfish I was to leave her, and how my brother will be devastated, and that I can't leave because who will take care of their son? This made me snap, and I realized 19 years of neglect, abuse onto my mother. She began crying, but I told her how I felt. I told her that she has 3 other kids who could help, but in reality, I know that's not true. My other siblings left the moment they turned 18 because they couldn't deal with the abuse from disabled brother. A part of me is beginning to feel bad for leaving. I once promised her I will never leave, but I can't be here anymore. Before you guys worry, I'm not getting kicked out. I got off to college on August 16th, but things have been extremely tense. She keeps trying to guilt trip me into not going. Lived with my brother and was severely neglected and overlooked. Was forced to be a third parent to my brother. Graduated and got into college when no one else and my family did. Asked my mom for a small loan, but she's angry and wants me to stay to look after my bro. So I'm the bad guy here. I'm the bad guy for abandoning my mother-in-law at the gas station. Hello, I'm a 25 male, so I have a mother-in-law and she's an absolute nightmare. When 2 years ago I married my wife, my mother-in-law threw a tantrum because she married me, not her ex. We had to throw her out and the party was ruined. After that, we went no contact with her. Half a year ago, she contacted us and said how she regrets everything she has done to us. I was kinda suspicious, but because of my wife, I gave her a chance. We had a grill party last week where we invited the whole family, including my mother-in-law. Soon I realized I forgot to buy drinks. I decided to go to the closest shop to buy some, and my mother-in-law said she wanted to come too. So we're in the car, and she started to saying things about how I'm a failure and ruined her daughter's life for marrying me. I lost it inside, but played it cool. I calmly said we're out of gas. She started to say how stupid I was for driving with an almost empty tank. So I told her to go pay inside while I fill the tank. I gave her 20 euros. I sent her in. When she stepped inside the station, I drove away. After that, I went to my sister's house to talk with her because I'm kind of emotional. After a few hours, my wife called. She said my mother-in-law was screaming with her on the phone because out of the blue, I left her at the middle of nowhere. After she was done talking, I told her what really happened. She was livid. From what I know, her mother called a taxi to go back to the grill party. And when she got there, my wife lost it. She screamed at her for being a jerk to me. But the other relatives were on my mother-in-law's side, and they defended her because she only wanted the best for her daughter. After half an hour of screaming, my wife sent home everyone and blocked my mother-in-law. Ever since, my phone is bleeding from calls and messages from my wife's relatives for how I ruined the mother-daughter relationship. So, I'm the bad guy here. I'm the bad guy for not contacting my sister-in-law about our niece's period and instead handling it myself. My wife and I are in our mid-20s. My wife's older sister Kate has a daughter named Peyton, fake name. Kate has to travel for work every few weeks, so Peyton stays either with us or with her grandparents. We had her earlier this week. I had the day off, but my wife's had to work, so Peyton and I were just having a chill day around the house. She went to the bathroom and shortly after started crying, which freaked me out. I went to the door and asked if she was sick or hurt. She said no. After some questioning, I was able to deduce that she started her period and just didn't know what was going on. I made sure she got decent new clothes, showered and such, and then explained as best as I could that she was going through something natural. I got her some of my wife's pads and explained how to use them. She was clothed and clean for every interaction. I didn't really feel the need to inform her mother. I figured Peyton will text her or call her or tell her when she got picked up the next day. My wife got home and explained more things, and apart from feeling physically unwell, Peyton did fine. Yesterday, 2 days after she got picked up, Peyton's mom called me absolutely screaming for me, like not calling her immediately and yes, not waiting for my wife or another woman to explain things to her. It's not uncommon for Kate to be explosive, but this was extreme even for her. She's saying I'm inappropriate, a creep, and a huge bad guy. and that Python doesn't feel safe staying at our house unless my wife is home, which I don't believe it's true. Python and I get along great. She reminds me of when my own tomboy sisters were twins. Did I something wrong? A couple people have said I should clarify a few things. First, Python is preteen. Second, after she stopped crying and asked if she's feel better, if she called her mom and grandma, and she said no. This surprised me because she usually wants to call one of them over anything she's upset about. I didn't want to overstep her decision. Also, I didn't explain anything too in-depth. I just told her as a young lady her body is going to get rid of extra blood. It doesn't need once a month, and that is perfectly normal. She thought periods only happen to older girls, and that it will be more like getting a cut on your finger. I think she was scared by the timing, the amount, and not knowing what to do to get herself cleaned up. So, am I the bad guy for not calling Kate and not letting a woman handle this? Am I the bad guy for telling my girlfriend on her birthday that she wasted my money and that she should have paid instead? For years, I've been managing my family's business, but the pandemic posed significant challenges impacting on income. As a result, I found it difficult to afford gifts or celebrate my girlfriend's birthday for the past 3 years. Although she never complained, I know she deserves to celebrate on her special day. Determined to make it up to her this year, I promised to take the day off and spend quality time together. When her birthday arrived, she expressed that all she wanted was a simple celebration, dining at the modest restaurant, playing billiards, and going bowling afterward. We started by having a meal at the restaurant before heading to a game hall for a game of billiards. However, upon arriving, all the pool tables were occupied, and we had to wait for our turn for about 30 minutes. While waiting, my girlfriend noticed a small indoor airsoft range adjacent to the pool hall. She suggested we try to pass the time, and I agreed. I've even paid for both activities. We then proceeded to the indoor range. Unfortunately, the airsoft guns turns out to be faulty, which was frustrating. Nevertheless, I decided to make the most of it. When it was my girlfriend's turn to play, she promptly expressed her unwillingness to continue due to the faulty guns. I was initially disappointed, but in the end, I decided to play her turns as well. While she opted out of the airsoft game, I asked her to check if the pool table was ready, and after a few minutes, she returned with the cues and balls, confirming that it was now available. I continued with the airsoft game, and by the game I finished, it had already been 20 minutes past the allotted time for our pool table reservation. When I finally joined my girlfriend at the pool hall, she was visibly upset. Despite this, we started playing, but eventually, she abruptly left the game hall without saying a word. This infuriated me, and I confronted her, expressing my frustration about her behavior and how she seems to waste my money. I suggested that if she intended to leave, she should have been the one to pay for the activities she cancelled. Feeling hurt and angry, I decided to distance myself from her, walking Paige to the car to avoid saying things I might regret. When she joined me in the car, she burst into tears and explained her reasons for leaving. She said she felt overwhelmed and embarrassed playing pool by herself while all the other tables were occupied. She also added that she felt uncomfortable because seated in front of our pool table was a family waiting for their turn to play. She said the discomfort of being observed only added her embarrassment. First, she canceled on her turn to play at the indoor airsoft range. Then she decided to walk out while we were playing pool, both of which I had already paid for. It made me feel like she wasted my money. Her action pissed me off. So, am I the bad guy here?